It is January 2023, and we are doing part 2 of the Bob of the Sods here. We've got a lot of great things coming out for the now 11, sometimes 12-year-old G6r platform here, and I think some of them are worth taking a closer look at. One of them being the new-ish Sci-Fi board from Brandon here from Sci-Fi Paintball. So kind of wanted to go over what's new, what's different, what you can expect, the use cases, kind of everything about the Sci-Fi board here. So we have a 2K12 OLED Sci-Fi board here, and then the 2K12 Frenzy, the most recent board that came with the Ripper G6Rs here. So this is current spec. This is the brand new Sci-Fi. So it's a little bit of a meandering thought process here. So I it's a little bit, I guess, non-linear. So kind of bear with me. I think there's a couple pros and there's a couple cons to the Sci-Fi board here. And I'll start off by saying that this 6.2 flash of the current Intimidator boards is very good. Truly no complaints with it. Everything is great about it. Double tap and it turns the eyes off. It really, the only things I want to do day by day is turn it on, play, and then turn the eyes off if I'm working on stuff. So this is very easy. I think it's a super hold the trigger, enter programming mode. The menu is concise, and again, if you have a G6R, none of this is groundbreaking. You've gone into your menu, but some boards have a tendency, and I'm going to call it to turn into ape, where there's just too many menus of just shit that you don't need. So I think the 6.2 Frenzy is perfectly pared down. I don't think it's over menued. I think it's easy to read, easy to use, and all the good quality of life things, double tap on the button to turn the eyes off, all fantastic. Big fan. Now, the Sci-Fi, I think there are a couple upgrades, a couple side grades, and then a few downgrades, to be honest with you. And, first, if you're not familiar with Sci-Fi, it is kind of a boutique little, I don't want to say art house, but, we've got a gentleman here just making boards for guns that are no longer receiving any support. So, the ethos, everything about Sci-Fi, I really appreciate. It's a project that I, want to support. I like Sci-Fi. I think they make a great product. I have them in my cockers. I have them in my shockers. I have one in my torque. I have one, what else? I've got a couple, SFT, NXT, cocker, J4 torque. I've got some universals and now some of these G6R boards here. So I think from the perspective of a guy making boards with this level of, finish and quality for a platform like the G6R, acknowledging that the G6R is, goated, I think that's very cool. And, underneath the solenoid here, really nice finishing touches, like just very high production quality board here. I think for a gun that has as big a cult following as the G6R, now that there is a aftermarket board solution, fantastic, love it. I think it's important to have board options. Case in point, I sent some boards off to get flashed, and they were lost in the mail. So rather than having to retire all these guns or go the Morlock route, Sci-Fi has these great boards, and I think that functionality wise, feature set wise, fully featured with a caveat, which we'll get into. But if you're looking to get an upgraded board, I don't think that that's the use case for the Sci-Fi, at least on the OLED. And what I mean by that is the biggest thing, there's no killer feature for this that I would say, oh, it's an upgrade. Bluetooth is nice, but these all have screens. I don't know how valuable that is to me personally. On the 2011, on the LED series G6Rs, I think the Sci-Fi board just turns the 2K11 G6R into a maniac machine. I mean, no screen to ever go bad. You throw, a Bluetooth board in your 2K11 G6R, and that thing is future-proof. So if you have a 2K11 G6R with, the thumb screw ASA, no LED board, I don't think there's anything better you can put into a 2011 G6R than the Sci-Fi board. I think it turns it into a, modern machine. You're not counting blinks anymore. You program it on your phone. It really modernizes your gun. I think it's fantastic. Now, on the 2K12, I think really the only use case is if your old board is dead or fried or something. I don't think it's an upgrade. I do think there are some upgraded features, though. And what I mean by that is, one, the battery is not those little contacts anymore. So for instance, it's not these soldered on contacts, which, if you've had a G6R long enough, eventually these are going to get fatigued and you'll have to resolder these. I think it's a failure point. I think it's a weak design on the board. And I really like that the Sci-Fi was able to, mitigate and solve that problem with a standard kind of battery connector here. It gets a little bit tight, fitting that extra wire in there, but well worth the trade-off. So I think that's a very solid, actual upgrade, is getting rid of these prongs, and then going to the battery cable. Very good upgrade. Number two, and I haven't seen anyone talk about this yet, but on the Sci-Fi, for everyone that is using the old style Bob Long wraparound grips, not the F1 grips, the indicator light is back. So you'll notice on the, on the Frenzy on the 2K12, they kind of designed it around the F1 grips. This is on, no indicator light. So I think the indicator light is actually a killer feature, because most of my guns I use the old style wraparound grips on. I think they look so much better. So the fact that the indicator light is back, I think is hilarious. I think it's fantastic. I think that's a nice little attention to detail, nice little touch here. So I think that's an upgrade. I think Battery Connect is an upgrade. And I think, the Bluetooth functionality, is very nice. So if you're not familiar with a Sci-Fi, I've seen some people ask, what does the Sci-Fi do? Like, I don't get it. Is it just a G6R board? Basically what's going to happen, you can turn it on, you can go into programming mode, and then, you get a little Bluetooth menu. So you don't have to pair anything. It just does a Bluetooth scan. And now here is your G6R. You can fully, program everything. You can see that it's working. Set your different shot profiles. You can set all of your, ball in place delay, things like that. And then set all your firing modes. So that's why I think on a, 2011 G6R, it's an indispensable upgrade. I don't think that being able to do it on an iPad or your phone is a, huge upgrade when you already have a screen. So I think that I'm treating this more of a, replacement part, right? So if a board goes down, you've got a good option in the wings. But that kind of leads me to the main drawback. So if the Sci-Fi board supported 4 CIs, which it doesn't, so it only supports 2 CIs, I would have switched all of my guns over to Sci-Fi. But as it stands, you have to run 2 CIs on your Sci-Fi board. It does not support 4 CIs. And a lot of people will say, Nick, why do you care? It's kind of a stupid feature and it doesn't really matter for 10.5, 10.2 anyway. I'd agree. You're absolutely correct. But I like the idea of 4 CIs, and you can't convince me that having another data point in the firing cycle is bad. I understand intellectually that because we're at 10.5 and all of these guns have a ball in place delay setting now, that it's rendered completely moot, that it does not matter at all. But it's one of those things. It's 100% placebo. I don't think it works any better or worse. But I like having the 4C. It's just something that I like. I think it's very paintball-y. It just brings me fond memories of playing paintball in the, early mid 2010s here. The semi-auto, unkept, arms race here. I just think 4C is so paintball-y. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just cool. I like the idea of 4C more than the actual implementation. It's just something that I want to continue to support. I just, every time a gun has 4C in it again, I think it's cool. You know what I mean? And, they're putting 4C in the Force. So you can buy a current year F1 gun that still supports 4C. And I know that there's probably some licensing or, programming that's prohibitive from the Sci-Fi board running 4C. That's okay. You know what? No problem. Works in a pinch. There's absolutely nothing wrong with 2C. Every paintball gun in the world is running, 2CIs except for a little handful here. So certainly not missing out on anything, but if I have the option, I'm going to go with something that supports 4C because I think that that's cool. The good news is that Brandon will be doing his own 2CI boards. So Sci-Fi is going to have its own boards coming out here for eyes, because these 2CIs are getting harder and harder to find. So eventually you'll be able to have an entire solution from Sci-Fi here, the board and the eyes, so you can run this no problem. So to kind of recap, Nick, should I go out and change over all of my 2K12 boards to Sci-Fis? No, I don't think so. I don't think it's an upgrade. So I don't think it's necessary to go and spend $200 to upgrade your gun. I don't think it's an upgrade. What I will say though is that if your board has anything wrong with it, if your battery connector is broken, if it's a 2K11, there's a lot of use cases where I think this board has value, and I'm certainly not going to ever turn up my nose at anyone who wants to create parts and aftermarket solutions for a gun that's 12 years old. I think putting the G6R back in the spotlight, I think exalting the G6R with new current year board solutions is sick, and I want to support that. I bought 4 of these things. So I really like the idea of the Sci-Fi. If it had 4C, I'd switch everything over. It does not, so now I just have it on a few. But other than that, I don't need to go through the programming modes and stuff. But I will say just a couple of things if you want to see side by side. Sci-Fi boots up so fast. I love it. It's good to go. But then the screen goes out, which I don't like. But then the indicator light is back on, which, I like the screen being on. I like this kind of as a heads up. So, for me, if I'm playing and something's going on, I can just check down here and see what's up. This one, you have to hit the button again to turn the screen back on, which, not a big deal, but I think they're both very good boards. And I got to give it up to Sci-Fi here. I think there's a couple people in this space. I've had some experience with some of the Flory boards. I have some of their older chips for the older DMs here, and I think Flory does really good stuff. I don't think it's nearly as sophisticated. I think the Bluetooth is fantastic. It's miles better than the Enox stuff. I think Brandon's iLogic and everything is a bit more robust. I never have any issues with the gun overcycling itself or running away from itself. I think it's good, reliable, iLogic here. So nothing but compliments to the Sci-Fi board. I think if you are in need of a new board, if you've got a broken board, pick up a Sci-Fi. I think if you want to support people doing paintball stuff in 2023, pick up a Sci-Fi. If you have a 2K11, pick up a Sci-Fi. Other than that, if your daughter board goes out on your OLED, pick up a Sci-Fi and just run it no screen. You saw the Bluetooth functionality. I think it's a fantastic option for legacy support. I think it's a perfect part. I'm glad that it exists. Like I said, if it supported 4C, I'd have 15 of these. Unfortunately, it doesn't. That's okay. But I think the Sci-Fi, and I think what they're doing over there at Sci-Fi is important work. I think if we can keep supporting people, creating in the paintball industry, it's only going to be better, you know. So, you know, love it. Happy to support this kind of stuff. Really happy with the Sci-Fi board. I think it's a great upgrade in a lot of cases. I don't think it's a great update in, you know, every case, but, you know, now I'm just kind of talking in circles here, but I like the Sci-Fi a lot. I think it's, you know, a fantastic piece of kit. You know, no complaints. Love it. So if you have any questions, I guess let me know, but, you know, otherwise what you see is kind of what you get. You know, at the time of this video, his in-house 2C eyes are not available yet, but they will be, I think, in the next coming days. So if you need 2Cs to get your you know, your Sci-Fi board working, it's coming. You know, now if we can just get somebody to do some, you know, some other parts, if we can get some LPR cores made, that would be sick. But, you know, Sci-Fi is feeling good. So yeah, thanks for checking it out.